Hi guys, and welcome back to the Crochet Tour YouTube channel. In today's video I'm bringing you another new pattern, and it's another new Pokemon pattern actually. I know I've been coming up with a lot of new Pokemon patterns recently. I don't know why, I've just been quite enjoying making Pokemon characters. So today's pattern is going to be for Bewear. So here's what he looks like. This is the one I've just made in the video that you're going to see. So here you go. And that's the back with the tail and everything, and a close up of the face. So this one's quite interesting. So this is actually a pattern that I made a while ago and I used to sell on my Etsy. So I no longer really sell things on my Etsy. I tend to just put everything for free on my YouTube channel now. But yeah, this was one of my paid patterns that I used to have. And in the original pattern, I actually made it with a 5mm crochet hook because I used to use that. But now, as you probably know, if you've seen a lot of my videos, I tend to use a 4mm crochet hook with my aran weight yarn. But I just wanted to show you the size difference depending on the crochet hook that you use. So this is my original one that I made with a 5mm crochet hook, and this is the 4mm. So it actually makes quite a big difference in terms of the size. However, the reason that I decided to size down is because you can see that the stuffing is kind of visible through the gaps with the 5mm crochet hook, whereas with the 4 you can barely see any of the stuffing and it just looks a bit neater, I think. But just so you can see, there's an option for you. If you wanted to make an even bigger Bewear, then you can use the 5mm crochet hook. And what I also wanted to show you as well is when I originally made this pattern, I did also make a shiny version too. So this is what the shiny Bewear looks like. So if you want to make the shiny, instead of using a lighter and a darker pink, you can use a sort of yellowish colour and then an orange colour too, and you can just switch those out. So yeah, I've got 3 Bewears now in my Bewear family, so here we go, that's all of them. But yeah, without further ado, if you're interested in finding out how to make this, then just keep watching this video. The written pattern will still be available on my blog, but it's going to be in a slightly different format, I think. So I'm probably going to end up just putting the PDF pattern that I used to sell on Etsy and just making that small amendment. Instead of 5mm crochet hook, I'm going to change it to 4mm because I just think it looks a bit better like that. So yeah, it will look a little bit different than the patterns that I normally have on my blog, but it will probably be a bit better actually because there are some photos included in this, and you can see what my old paid patterns used to look like. I am planning on releasing all of my old paid patterns on Etsy, by the way. I'm just making my way. I obviously need to make videos for all of them, so there's a few. I think there might be like 4 more that I'm planning on releasing for free. So yeah, so I think that's everything. So without further ado, let's get into what you'll be needing for this tutorial. For this tutorial you'll be needing aran weight yarn in the following colours: darker pink, lighter pink, black and white. You'll be needing some black and white felt for the eyes and nose details, and also a small bit of black embroidery thread for the nose details. If you don't have this, don't worry, you can just use black yarn if you want to. You'll be needing 2 crochet hooks for this, so you'll be needing a 4mm crochet hook for the majority of the pattern if you're using an aran weight yarn. Obviously if you're using DK or chunky or something different, then do size up or down as required. And then you'll also want a size smaller crochet hook, so I've got a 3mm crochet hook here, and this is just for making the little pad details on the arms and feet, just to make it a little bit smaller than it would come out as using the 4mm crochet hook. Alternatively, you could probably just use the 4mm crochet hook but use a lighter weight of yarn for those details. Then you'll also be needing some stuffing. You'll need a lot more than this, but this is just to demonstrate. You'll want a stitch marker. I'm just using a random piece of yarn for that. You'll need some fabric glue for gluing down the felt pieces. I'm using Fabri-Tac. You'll need some scissors, and then you'll probably want some pins as well to pin things in place as you're sewing them down. So yeah, let's get into the tutorial. So we're going to start off by making the head/body, so you're going to need your lighter pink yarn for this. And as I mentioned at the beginning, we'll be using our 4mm crochet hook for everything in this, unless I state otherwise. So just always assume it's 4mm crochet hook unless I tell you that it's not. So we're going to start off by doing 6 single crochets in a magic circle. So that's round 1. You should just have 6 single crochets all the way around at the end of round 1. And then for round 2, you're going to do single crochet, and then 2 increases. So this is the first increase, and then we're going to do another increase in the next stitch, and then you're going to repeat that all again. So single crochet and 2 increases. And if you've still got a bit of a hole in the middle like I do, you might just want to pull on that tail once more to close up the hole. So at the end of round 2, you should have 10 single crochets all the way around. I'm going to talk you through the remaining rounds for the head because it's just a mixture of single crochets and increases in each of the rounds. So for round 3, 2 single crochet, 2 increase, 3 single crochet, 2 increase, single crochet. That'll bring you up to 14 single crochets at the end of the round. Round 4, 2 single crochet, 4 increase, 3 single crochet, 4 increase, single crochet. That'll bring you to 22 single crochets. Round 5, 4 single crochet, 4 increase, 7 single crochet, 4 increase, 3 single crochet. That'll bring you up to 30 single crochets. Round 6 to 7 single crochet all the way around. Round 8, 6 single crochet, 4 increase, 11 single crochet, 4 increase, 5 single crochet. That'll bring you up to 38 single crochets at the end of the round. Rounds 9 to 10 single crochet all the way around. Round 11, 8 single crochet, 4 increase, 15 single crochet, 4 increase, 7 single crochets. That'll bring you up to 46 single crochets at the end of the round. And then finally rounds 12 to 21 single crochet all the way around. So I'll meet you when you're ready to start round 22. So I've reached the end of round 21. I'm ready to start round 22 now. So this is what it's looking like. I'm just going to remove my stitch marker from here. So what you're going to want to do at this point is to put 1 stitch marker on either side of Bewear's head after you've kind of flattened it down like this. And you're going to want to make sure that when you flatten it like this, the increases are kind of positioned so that they're on the sides of the head like this, and this just ensures that everything is the correct shape. The end of your round 21 should be positioned at the back of the head like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to place my stitch markers now. So I'm going to try and place them to either side. So I'm going to place 1 here. And then there should be 22 single crochets between each of the stitch markers. So I'm just going to count that and then place my second one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So I'm going to place it into the 23rd single crochet after this stitch marker that I've already placed. Okay, so now we're ready to continue crocheting. This is going to be the front of Bewear and this is going to be the back here. So before we officially start round 22, we are just going to single crochet up to and including the first stitch marker that we come across here. And when you do your final single crochet, you're going to want to pull through in black because we are going to be doing colour changes in every round from this point onwards, changing between black and pink. So I'm just going to make this black. And now we're ready to start round 22. So for round 22, you're going to start off by single crocheting in black up to and including the other stitch marker that we placed previously. So that should be 23 single crochets in total. And I am just going to mark this first black single crochet as this is the first stitch of round 22. Everything we did before this didn't count as round 22, it was just preparing for it. Also, just another thing to note, I'm not going to be carrying my pink around with me. I am going to be cutting the yarn every round and reattaching. It's up to you how you do it, but I've just decided that this is the way I want to do it, because sometimes if you crochet over the colour it can make your work a bit tight, and also sometimes the other colour can show through. So yeah, this is the way I'm going to do it. So when we get to that 23rd single crochet, or the single crochet that is marked, we are going to change back to pink, because Bewear is black on the front and pink on the back for the body. So okay, so now in this single crochet we're going to change back to pink. And now we're going to do 23 single crochets in pink, and that will bring us to the stitch marker that marked the first stitch of the round. Okay, and in this final stitch again I'm going to pull through in black, because we're going to be working in black for the first single crochet of round 23. Okay, so at the end of round 22 you should have 23 single crochets in black and then 23 single crochets in your lighter pink colour. Round 23 is exactly the same as round 22. I will show you it once more just so that you can see the colour changes again if you want to see that, but then for the remaining rounds for the body I will just talk you through them, because it's just going to be a case of doing some single crochets in black and some in pink, and it's going to slightly change throughout the rounds as we move down the body. So for round 23 you're just going to again do 23 single crochets in black to start with. So Okay, and I'm about to do my 23rd single crochet, so I'm going to pull through in pink because we're going to be doing the next 23 in pink. Okay, so then we're going to do 23 pink single crochets. Okay, and as I know that the first single crochet of the next round is going to be black again, I'm just going to make sure in this final single crochet, oops, sorry, I hit the camera there. In this final single crochet, I'm just going to pull through in black. Okay, so now you should be ready to start round 24. As I mentioned, I'm just going to talk you through the next few rounds now because I've shown you all the techniques required for these. So round 24 is exactly the same as 22 and 23. So you're going to do 23 single crochets in black and then 23 single crochets in your lighter pink colour. Then rounds 25 to 27, you're going to do 1 single crochet in pink to start off with, then 23 single crochets in black, and then 22 single crochets in pink. Then for rounds 28 to 30, you're going to do 2 single crochets in pink, 23 in black, and 21 in pink. Rounds 31 to 33, you're going to do 3 single crochets in pink, 23 in black, and then 20 in pink. Then rounds 34 to 36, you're going to do 4 single crochets in pink, 23 in black, and 19 in pink. Then rounds 37 to 39, you're going to do 5 single crochets in pink, you're going to do 23 single crochets in black, and you're going to do 18 single crochets in pink. So as you'll probably have noticed there, every 3 rounds we're basically shifting the colour change up by 1 single crochet, and you'll see when you're doing it the reason why we do that it just ensures that we keep a clean line at either side of Bewear with the colour changes. If you didn't do that, then you'd end up with a diagonal line of colour change going like this, and obviously that's not what we want. So yeah, hopefully that made sense, and all of that will obviously be written on the pattern as well that's on my blog. But yeah, I will meet you when you're finishing round 37, as I then need to show you how we're going to finish that off, and then we'll be making the legs. I've just come to the end of round 39 now, so this is what it's looking like. So if you flatten it, you should have one side where there's black on the body, and then on the other side it should be pink like this. So what we're going to do now, before we start working on the legs, we're just going to finish off with a fake single crochet. This is just going to make it look a little bit neater and harder to tell where the round finished. So I'm going to zoom in, I think, for this. So I'm just going to remove this stitch marker, and then I'm going to cut my yarn, leaving a little bit of a tail. We're going to reattach our black yarn for making the legs, so yeah. Then I'm just going to pull that tail through. I'm going to turn my work over. I'm going to skip the next single crochet and go into the one after that. Pull that tail through. And then I'm going to go back to that single crochet, the final single crochet of round 39, into the front loop only from our current perspective, so the one closest to us. And I'm going to pull that tail through like this. And as you can see, that has created this fake single crochet on top of the existing real single crochet, and as I mentioned, it just makes it a bit harder to tell just by looking where the round ended. So I'm just going to knot off this yarn tail on the inside a little bit just to keep it nice and secure. can do more if you want, but I think I'm just going to leave it like that. So now grab your black yarn, and you're going to need 4 stitch markers, and we're going to mark out where the legs are going to sit. So the stitches that we're going to mark, we're going to start by counting 9 single crochets from the black single crochet on the side. So this is the first black one, so I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and I'm going to attach my first stitch marker into that 9th stitch. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And again, another stitch marker. And as you can see, there should be 5 single crochets between the two. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm just going to do the exact same thing on the other side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And attaching my stitch marker into that 9th pink stitch. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then I'm just checking the gap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I can tell that I've placed my stitch markers correctly. So now we're ready to start round 1 of the first leg, and you're going to be starting off by working into this stitch marked here. So for me that's marked with a red stitch marker, so whatever colour you've used, that's the stitch that we're going to start off in. So I'm just going to pull that stitch marker out now, pop my hook inside, and then I'm just grabbing my black yarn. Just going to attach that. Okay, and now we're ready to start round 1. So for round 1, you're just going to do 18 single crochets, and that should take you up to one of the marked pink stitches on the back. So this is the first single crochet, and I am just going to mark that so that I know where the round started. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and then this 18th stitch is the marked one, so I'm going to remove that. You don't really need that stitch marker anymore. So that's 18. So that's round 1. You've got your 18 single crochets all the way around. Now for round 2, we're obviously going to start that in this marked stitch here, the first stitch of round 1, and when we do that first single crochet, it's going to join these two sides of the leg together to create the actual full circle. So I'm going to show you round 2, which is just going to again be 18 single crochets all the way around. So this is 1, trying to do this as tightly as possible to prevent any gaps. That's 1, and I'm just going to mark that. Two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, then 18. So again, at the end of round 2 you should have 18 single crochets all the way around, and as you can see we're making this leg on our right hand side here, and this is what it should be kind of looking like at the end of round 2. So now you're going to simply do 11 more rounds of just single crocheting all the way around. So that'll be rounds 3 to 13. Just do 18 single crochets all the way around in each of those rounds. And I'll meet you when you're ready to start round 14. So I got to the end of round 13 and I've just added a lot of stuffing to the head, the body and also the legs. So you're just going to want to make sure that you stuff firmly at this point as well. So now we're ready to start round 14. So I'm going to do round 14 and round 15, which is the final round with you. So for round 14, you're just going to do single crochet, decrease, and repeat that 5 more times to get you down to 12 single crochets at the end of the round. But you're going to be working in the back loops only. So I'm just going to zoom in so you can see a bit better. So as I mentioned, I'm just going to be working in the back loops. So these loops. So this is my single crochet. I'm going to just mark this. And then I'll do my decrease. I'm just going to repeat that pattern all the way around this round. I accidentally got the stuffing a bit mixed up in my decrease there, so I'm just going to redo that. Okay, so at the end of round 14 you should have 12 single crochets all the way around, and then for the final round, round 15, we're just going to decrease all the way around, so that'll be 6 decreases, and you're going to do that in both loops this time, so we're going to just go back to working in both loops. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So now I'm just going to cut my yarn. And then I'm going to close up the hole, so just grabbing my yarn needle. So I'm just going to weave this into the front loop of each of those 6 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to start with this one. Then pull tightly to close up the hole. So hopefully you can see that. I know it's a bit hard to see with the black yarn, but the hole has now been closed up, and then I'm just going to weave my yarn tail through that hole through to one of the black leg stitches at the back. Just pull on that gently, don't pull too tightly, otherwise you might misshape the bottom of the foot. So just like that, and then you can cut that tail as you won't need that anymore. So as you can see, the first leg is now complete, so we're going to have to reattach our black yarn once more to make the other leg on the other side. I also just want to show you a quick tip. So when you're using black yarn, you'll notice that the white stuffing can show up quite a lot on this and make it look a little bit messy. So if you want to get rid of that, I'd recommend just using a pair of tweezers and just tweezing out all of those little strands of stuffing that are poking out. It's a bit boring, but it does make the finished product look a lot more neat and well finished. So yeah, just a little tip there for you. For the next leg, we're just going to reattach our black yarn into that other pink marked stitch at the back. And we're going to do the exact same rounds that we did for the first leg. So I'll show you round 1 and round 2 again. So for round 1, you're just going to do 18 single crochets. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 and 18, and again you can just remove this stitch marker. You won't be needing this one anymore. It's just to make sure that you're crocheting up to the right point in round 1. So now for round 2, our first stitch is going to be on the other side like this, so I'm just going to remove the stitch marker and then I'm just going to work into that stitch and try and get it as tight as possible. So that's 1, and I'm going to mark that. And I'm just going to work 17 more single crochets around. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 and 18. So that's the end of round 2. It should be looking something like this. And yeah, so basically now all you're going to do is you're just going to do the exact same rounds 3 to 15 that we did for the other leg. So that'll be rounds 3 to 13 just single crocheting all the way around. Then round 14 you're going to do single crochet, decrease, and repeat that pattern 5 more times in the back loops only to get you down to 12 single crochets. And then for round 15, decrease all the way around and then close up the hole. And obviously you're going to want to make sure that you add stuffing at the end of round 13. So yeah, I'm not going to show you all of that again because you've already kind of seen it on this leg. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to meet you when you finish the second leg, and then I'm going to show you how to close up the hole in between the legs. So I've just finished the second leg and this is what it's looking like. So as you can see, we just need to close up this hole now between the legs. So you're just going to want to cut a length of your black aran yarn, and we're just going to use our yarn needle to sew this gap closed. So you can just start off at the edge here, either end, doesn't matter. Just pull through, but don't obviously pull all the way, leave a bit of a tail. and then you're just going to want to whip stitch along the hole like this. Just keep pulling as you whip stitch across, and if you get any stuffing mixed up in your sewing, that's fine. We can just use some tweezers to remove that afterwards. Okay, so that should do. As you can see, we've sewn up the hole now, so I'm just going to weave my yarn tail again through to the back, and I'll do the same with that other tail here as well. So I'm just going to pull that, make sure it's fairly tight, and then I'm going to weave that through to the back. Oh, sorry, that's the front. So through to the back of the leg, just like this, and then you can cut both of these tails. Okay, so once you've done that, your beware should look like this. So now you've kind of got the base shape. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to make the arms. I've already gone ahead and made one of the arms. So this is what it's going to look like. So I'm going to do the second one with you now. So you're going to use your black yarn, and you're going to start off by doing 6 single crochets in a magic circle for round 1. Okay, and then for round 2, you're going to just increase all the way around. Okay, so at the end of round 2, you should have 12 single crochets all the way around. So I'm going to talk you through the next few rounds, as it's just single crochets and increases. So for round 3, you're going to do 3 single crochet increase, repeat that 2 more times to get you to 15 single crochets at the end of the round. Round 4, single crochet all the way around. Round 5, 4 single crochet increase, repeat that pattern twice more to get you to 18 single crochets at the end of the round. Then round 6 to 8, single crochet all the way around. I'll meet you when you're ready to start round 9, as we need to do some decreasing. So I'm ready to start round 9 now, where we're going to start doing some decreases. So we're going to start off by doing 4 single crochets. And then we're going to do a decrease over the next 2 stitches. And then we're going to repeat that pattern twice more to get us to the end of the round. Okay, so that is the end of round 9, and at the end of the round you should have 15 single crochets all the way around. So I'm just going to talk you through the remaining rounds now. So for rounds 10 to 12, you're just going to single crochet all the way around. round 13, 3 single crochet decrease, repeat that twice more to get you to 12 single crochets at the end of the round. Then rounds 14 to 18 single crochet all the way around. I'll meet you when you finish round 18. Keep your yarn on the hook because we are going to work a couple of rows to finish off the arm. So I got to the end of round 18 and I've stuffed the arm moderately, so you're going to want to do the same at this point. And now we're just going to work a couple of rows to create a shoulder effect at the top of the arm. So you're going to start by chaining 1, then turn your work, then you're going to do 6 single crochets. Then you're going to chain 1 again, turn, and then for row 2 you're going to do 6 single crochets. And now you're just going to cut your yarn, leaving a tail for sewing. And obviously you're going to need to make 2 arms, so come back here once you've got your 2 arms. I'm going to then show you how to make the little dark pink pads to go onto the ends of the arms. So for each of the arms you're going to need 1 of these large dark pink pads and then 3 of these smaller ones. So I've just gone ahead and made 1 set. Obviously, as you can see, it's going to be kind of positioned like that on the arm and we're going to sew it down. But I'm going to show you how to make the large and the small pads now. So for the large one, we're going to start off by doing 4 single crochets in a magic circle, and we are going to be sizing down in our hook for this, so I'm using a 3mm hook for this. You can do the same if you want. It's not the end of the world if you don't, but it just makes the pads come out a little bit smaller than they would do using the 4mm crochet hook, and I just preferred how this looked, so I'm going to do 4 single crochets in a magic circle. So that was round 1, and then for round 2 you're just going to increase all the way around, so that'll get you to 8 single crochets at the end of round 2. Okay, so that's the end of round 2, and now I'm just going to cut my yarn, leaving a tail long enough for sewing. And I'm also going to snip this tail here at the back because I've crocheted over it, so it should remain in place now. So I'm just gonna snip that. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to finish off with a fake single crochet again, so I'll show you again how to do that. So just turn your work, skip the next single crochet, go into the one after that. Pull that yarn tail through, and then go back to the final single crochet from round 2 into the loop closest to us, so this one, and then pull that yarn tail through again. Just makes it harder to tell where the round ended, and it will look a bit neater when we're sewing this onto the arm. So we need 2 of these, so make 2 of these and then come back and I'll show you how to make the smaller pads. So the smaller pads is very straightforward. You're just going to do 3 single crochets in a magic circle. And that is it. Then you're going to cut your yarn, leaving enough of a tail for sewing, so like that. And then that is it. I'm not going to do a fake single crochet to finish this one off. You can if you want to, but because the piece is so small, I'm just going to leave it like this and not bother with that. So you're going to want to make 6 of these in total. So when you've got 6 of these and 2 of these, come back and I'll show you how to sew them to the arms. So as you can see, I've sewn down the pads onto one of the arms. I'm going to do the other one with you now. So we're going to start off with the bigger pad. I have used a pin to pin this down, but just be careful because obviously it might poke through the back of the arm a little bit, as you can see there, so just be careful if you're going to use a pin, otherwise you might hurt yourself. So I'm just going to thread my yarn needle and then I'm just going to be sewing this down. So the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to go into a black loop like this and then back up through one of the pink single crochets from round 2, and then I'm going to go again into a pink single crochet and through a black loop, and then I'm going to go back through that pink single crochet, then go into the next pink one and a black loop, and I think you kind of get the idea now, but I'm going to just show you me sewing all the way around. And I'm probably going to take the pin out now because I think it's secure enough. I think this is going to be the last one. So that's fully sewn down now, as you can see, and I'm just going to weave that yarn tail through to one of the other pink single crochets over here like this, and I'm just going to snip that as close as I can like that, and then I'll just use my scissors to push that tail in so you can't see that. So that is fully sewn down now, and now we're gonna sew the smaller pads around this. I'm gonna just show you me doing the bottom one here. I'm gonna use the exact same technique, so I'm gonna pick a nearby black loop, go through that and then back through the pink one, and then go into the next pink loop and choose another black one. Back through that pink loop and then do the final pink loop. So that's that pad sewn down, and I'm just going to weave my yarn tail through to the back this time, and I'm going to do the same with that other tail from the beginning when we made our magic circle, because obviously we only did one round, so we weren't able to crochet over this, so we couldn't snip it at the time. So I'm just going to weave that through to the back here as well, and then as you can see that small pad is sewn down, and we can then snip these. And you can either use your scissors or you can use the other end of your yarn needle to try and push those pink bits in so you can't really see them. You might need to sort of move it around a little bit inside. And yeah, I'm just going to do the exact same technique to sew down the other 2 small pads, and then we need to sew the arms to the body. I've sewn down one of the arms and I'm going to do the other one with you now. So I'm just going to line this up as best I can to the side of Bewear, and then I'm going to start sewing this down. So I'm going to be doing a whip stitch along the top to start off with. apologies if this looks really awkward to you. It's quite hard for me to get this in shot on camera. I'd usually have this really close up to my face while I'm doing this, so. Okay, then before I carry on, I'm just going to make sure I'm happy with the positioning of that compared to the other side. And I think I am, so I'm going to carry on. So now I'm just going to sew down about 3 stitches at the side. Then I'm going to work along the underside of the arm. Oh, I think I accidentally got a loop that wasn't really a loop. I'm just going to push that one back in. I think that's a tail from a colour change. I probably shouldn't have gone into that loop. I'm going to pick a different one. Okay, so that's 6 I've done now, and then we just need to sew down these 3 remaining stitches at the side. And then just weave your yarn tail through the arm, and then you can cut. Before I cut it, I'm just going to do one final check to make sure I'm happy with how I've sewn that down. And yep, I think I'm happy with that, so I'm just going to cut my yarn tail. So this is how it should look when you've got both of your arms sewn down. So we're now moving on to making the little white toenails. So for this you're going to make one bigger one, which is this one in the middle, and then 2 smaller ones, and you're going to make obviously these 3 for both legs. So you're going to need 2 of the bigger ones and 4 of the smaller ones in total. So I'm going to show you how to make them now. It's really quick and easy. So for the big one, you're going to grab your white yarn and you're just going to do chain 3, and you're probably going to want to leave a little bit of a tail just to make sure that you have enough of a tail to kind of weave in when you're sewing down the toenails, because if you leave a small tail you might find it hard to thread that into your yarn needle and weave it into your work. So I'm just going to do chain 3, and then you're just going to slip stitch into the first chain. And that is it. Then you just cut your yarn, leaving a tail for sewing. And as you can see, this creates more of a straight bit at the bottom, and then there's like the curvature of the nail, so it just looks a bit different than doing 3 single crochets in a magic circle. So that is the big one, and now we're going to make the small one. So the small one's exactly the same, except you're going to do chain 2 instead of chain 3. So 1, 2, and then you're going to slip stitch to the first chain, and then you're going to cut your yarn, leaving a tail for sewing. So come back here once you've got 2 of these bigger toenails and 4 of the smaller ones, and we'll sew them to the feet. As you can see, I've sewn the toenails down on one leg now, so I'm going to show you me doing the big one on the second leg, so I'm not going to pin it down, but it's up to you. The bigger toenail should be in the middle, and then the smaller ones should be either side. And I'm going to sew this down in basically the same way that I sewed down the arm pads. So these can be a little bit fiddly. You could glue them down, I suppose, if you're really struggling, and you could make the toenails out of white felt if you wanted to. So when I'm done, I'm just going to go through to the back of the leg, and then I'll do the same with this tail as well. Okay, so that's the first toenail sewn down, and then I'm just going to sew a small one either side of that, so I'll show you when that's done. The toenails are all sewn down now, so this is what it's looking like, and what we're going to make next is the little headband that Bewear has. The headband is worked in a few parts. We're going to make the actual band part first, and just as a reminder, we're moving back to using our 4mm crochet hook now, so we're done using that smaller size. It was just for the toenails and the arm pads. So we're going to start off by chaining 31. Okay, so that was my 31, and then I'm just going to work 30 single crochets across the chain, starting from that second chain from hook, so that'll be this one. You can work in these front loops if you want, or you can work in the back loops. I'm going to choose to work in the back loops because I just prefer how it looks, but it doesn't make a massive difference. So I'm just going to be single crocheting across like this, and I'll meet you when I get to the end. I've done my 30 single crochets across, so now I'm just going to cut my yarn, leaving a tail for sewing. You'll probably want quite a long tail for sewing, just to be on the safe side. Okay, so now there's a couple more bits to make. So we now need to make 2 ear pieces. This is what one of them looks like that I've just done, so I'm going to do the other one with you now. So we're going to be working around a foundation chain for this, so we're going to start off by chaining 7. Okay, so starting from the second chain from hook, you're going to do 5 single crochets. Again, you can work into the front loops if you want, but I'm going to work into the back loops. Okay, and then we're going to do 2 single crochets in this stitch, so an increase, and then we're going to do another 2 single crochets in the same stitch but working round the other side of it, so sort of moving our work round like this. So that's 4 single crochets in total that we've done in this stitch. And then we're going to just work 5 single crochets back down the other side of the foundation chain. Okay, so that's the end of the first row. So we're going to chain 1, turn, and then we're ready to start the second row. So for this, we're going to do a single crochet. Then we're going to do 2 half double crochets. So that means yarn over, pull through a loop, and then pull through all 3 at once. Then we're going to do 2 double crochets. So again, yarn over, pull through a loop, and then this time pull through the first 2 and then the other 2. Okay, and then next we're going to do a half double crochet again. Then we're going to do 2 increases over the next couple of stitches. So 2 single crochets into this one, and then 2 single crochets into the next stitch. Then we're going to do another half double crochet, 2 double crochets, two half double crochets, and then 1 single crochet to finish it off. And then you just need to cut your yarn, leaving a tail for sewing, and you can cut this tail as well. You might just want to pull it first to secure it in place. Okay, so as I mentioned, you'll need to make 2 of these, and then we're just going to make these small little spikes that are going to go next to the ears now. So the little spike just looks like this. Again, we need to make 2 of these, so I'm going to make the second one with you now. This one's quick and easy to make. You just need to do a foundation chain of 3 to start off with. And then starting from second chain from hook, you're just going to single crochet across, so 2 single crochets, and I'm going to crochet over the tail as well to keep it secure in place, and then I can just snip it when I'm done. So 1, and then I'm going to do the second one. Just like that. Pull the tail a little. Then I'm going to snip this tail. I'm going to leave a tail for sewing. So now we've got all the components of the headband. So we've got the band itself, we've got the 2 small little spiky bits, and then we've got the 2 ears. So now we're ready to sew everything to Bewear. So the first thing I've done is to pin the band down, as you can see here. So I haven't quite made it go like right onto round 1. I've left a couple of rounds here because we're going to put a few little hair pieces at the top here. So you want it to kind of be positioned roughly touching, I'd say, around round 3, round 4 at the top here. So yep, and that's how it looks. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sew this down. I'm probably just going to whip stitch it down, so I'm just going to try and show you the beginning of me doing that. So I'm going to go into the next white stitch and into a pink stitch, then the next white stitch and another pink stitch. And hopefully you kind of get the idea of how we're going to sew this down. So I'm going to go along all the way to this end, and then what I'm going to do is I'm also going to sew down the inside of the band as well. So I'm going to go basically all the way around like this, then all the way back round to where I started. So I'll meet you when I have finished sewing this down. For the little spikes, you're going to sew them about 1 single crochet from the edge of the band, so roughly about here on either side. And I'm just going to try my best to sew it down as neatly as possible. So I'll show you this one. I'm just going to be doing the kind of whip stitch technique again. And then I'm going to sew it down at the back as well. Okay, so just like that, and I'm going to sew down the other one as well. I sewed the 2 little spikes down, as you can see. So the final thing to do for the headband kind of thing is to just sew the ears directly next to the spikes, so like this on either side. So I'm just going to use the exact same technique that I did for the small spikes, and just kind of try and do a bit of a whip stitch along the front of the ear, and then I'm going to also whip stitch along the back too to extra secure it in place. So I won't show you the full thing of me doing this, but I'll just show you a few stitches. So yeah, hopefully you kind of get the idea with that. So I'm just going to finish sewing that one down. I'm going to do the other ear on the other side too. And then we can do the rest of the face details. Everything is fully sewn down now, as you can see. So the next thing we're going to do is move on to making the snout. So you're going to need your white yarn for this again. For the snout, we're going to be crocheting around a foundation chain. So you're going to start off by chaining 8. And then we're going to start by working in the second chain from hook, so that's this one. As usual, you can work in these front loops if you want, but I'm going to be working in the back loops because that's just what I always do when I'm working around a foundation chain. So you're going to start off by just working 7 single crochets across the chain. And then you're going to slip stitch into the chain that you just did your final single crochet into, so this one, we're just going to do a slip stitch, and then we're going to work around the other side of the chain. So what you're going to do is you're going to start off by doing a single crochet, then you're going to do a half double crochet into the next stitch, so that means you're going to yarn over, then basically work it like a single crochet, except you have 3 loops on your hook instead of 2. Then you're going to do 3 double crochets, so 1, 2, 3. Then you're going to do another half double crochet. Then you're going to do a single crochet in that final chain. and then you're going to just finish off with a slip stitch in that same chain that you just did a single crochet in. So that is the end of round 1, and at the end of round 1 you should have 16 total stitches all the way around, including the slip stitches that we did. So now we're ready to start round 2. So for round 2 we're going to start off by doing an increase in the first stitch, and I am just going to mark the first stitch of round 2 just to remind myself where the round started. So I've done 1 single crochet. I need to do another one now because we're doing an increase. Okay, and then I'm going to do 5 single crochets. Then I'm going to do 2 increases. Then I'm going to do 7 single crochets. And then I'm going to finish off with another increase. Okay, so that is the end of round 2, and now you should have 20 stitches all the way around. For round 3 we're going to single crochet all the way around, but in the back loops only, so that's the loop furthest away from you, so this one for example. So we're just going to be doing 20 single crochets in those back loops, and once again I am just going to mark the first stitch like this. So I'll show you a few more, so just in these back loops. So I'll meet you when you've done that all the way around. Okay, so this is what it looks like at the end of round 3. So now we just need to do round 4, which is simply just single crocheting all the way around again, but this time in both loops rather than just the back loop. So I'll meet you when you finish round 4. So I finished round 4, and this is what it looks like. Hopefully you can kind of see that where the double crochets were, you should kind of position the nose like this, so that it's kind of like a triangle shape with the point down at the bottom here. I hope that kind of makes sense, but that's how I'm going to position it when I sew it down. So once you finish round 4 you just need to cut your yarn, leaving a tail for sewing. I'm going to leave quite a long tail because you know me, I always like to make sure I have enough of a tail. So there's that. I think the next thing that I'm going to do now is to add the little like felt piece for the nose, and also embroider a little line as well for the nose before I sew this down, so I'll show you that now. So as you can see, I've literally just added like a straight line in the middle of this nose piece, and I'm just going to probably just knot this at the back to secure it in place. So that's why it's kind of useful to do this before you sew it to the head, but you don't have to. You could add the details when it's all been sewn down as well, and that would still work. So I've sewn that down. As you can see, it looks ever so slightly wonky, so I'm just going to slightly adjust that as best I can. But then all I've done as well is I've cut out like a little nose shape out of black felt, and I'm going to end up gluing this on top like this, but I will probably wait until I've fully sewn this down before I do that part, because there's not really any benefit to doing that right now, and then at least I can make sure that I'm kind of happy with the positioning of it. So that's what I'd recommend that you do at this point. Just add a little line for the sort of nose detail. So now we're going to sew this to the Bewear, so let's move on to that. As you can see, I've pinned down the kind of snout piece. It's a few rounds up from where we first changed to black, the bottom part of it, and you just want to make sure you obviously leave enough space. We're going to add some eyes above this afterwards, and I think this time I'm probably going to do a running stitch rather than a whip stitch, so I'm going to show you the start of that. So I'm going to go into a white and a pink stitch like this. Then I'm going to go into another pink stitch and back through a white stitch. And then a white and a pink. And I'm basically just going to do that all the way around. Obviously, just before I completely sew all the way around, I am going to add some stuffing, so I'll show you that part. As you can see, I nearly finished sewing all the way around, but before I did so, I've just added a little bit of stuffing. So you don't need loads, I'd probably say, like add a moderate amount, enough so that the snout is kind of pronounced and actually sticks out, but not so much that, you know, the stuffing's kind of poking through the gaps in the snout. So I'm just going to continue sewing this down to finish off. So I'm just continuing my running stitch, as you can see. So just like that, and I'll meet you when I've finished. I finished sewing the snout down. This is what it looks like, and as I mentioned, the next thing I'm going to do is to just glue this little nose that I made out of felt on top of the snout like that. So I'll just be using my Fabri-Tac glue to do that, and then the next thing that we're going to want to do is to cut out the eyes out of black and white felt as well. So let's do these things next. So I've cut my eyes out of felt, as you can see, so all you're going to need to do is cut 2 black sort of semicircle shapes out, and then you're going to want to cut a slight slant at the bottom of those just so that they can be positioned nicely above the snout, and you'll see what I mean by that in a minute. And then you just need 2 very small white circles, and you just want to glue them to the top of these eyes here. So I'm just going to show you how I'm going to position the eyes onto my Bewear. So they're basically just going to go right above the snout like this, and as you can see, this is why you want a kind of little bit of a slant here, because the snout kind of goes down a little bit, so it just positions it nicely and make sure that the eyes are right next to the snout like that. So I'm going to position them roughly like this, and I'm just going to glue those down, and then that will be the face details complete. Then I think the only bits that we need to do next is there's a little bit of hair that we need to make for the top of the head, and then we also need to make the tail. Just wanted to quickly show you what my Bewear is looking like now that I've glued the eyes down. So this is what it looks like. So we're nearly done. So the next thing we're going to do is make the 3 little hair strands that we're going to sew to the top here. So we're going to need to make 3 of these hair strands. I've already made 2. I'm going to make the 3rd one now on camera, and as you can see, they're quite small pieces and they're going to be quite quick and easy to make. So I'm going to also be using my smaller hook for this, so I'm going to actually use my 3mm crochet hook for this part as well. I may not have mentioned that in the beginning, but yeah, that's what I'm going to do to make these just look a little bit smaller. It doesn't really make a massive difference, to be fair, but yeah, I'm just going to decide to do this. So I'm going to start off for round 1 by doing 4 single crochets in a magic circle. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then simply all we're going to do is for rounds 2 to 4, we're just going to single crochet all the way around. So that'll be 4 single crochets for each round, and that will just be 12 single crochets that we're going to be doing in total, and that's all you're going to need to do for the hair strand. As you can see, it's a little bit tight because the round is only 4 single crochets, and that's quite a tight round, so just take your time when you're single crocheting all the way around, just like this. So that's round 2 that I've just completed there. I'm going to do rounds 3 and 4 off camera because it's just the same thing again, so I'll meet you when I finish that. I've come to the end of round 4. This is what the piece looks like, and I'm just going to cut my yarn, leaving a bit of a tail for sewing. So once you've got 3 of these hair strands, come back and I'll show you how we sew them to Bewear. We're going to be sewing the hair strands to the top of the head, so I've kind of changed the angle just to show you that. So I'm going to be doing one like right in the middle here, and then one either side of that, and I'm just going to be doing a whip stitch again to sew that down. So I've sewn round once, as you can see. You can sew down another time if you want, or maybe just do a couple of extra stitches just to secure it in place. Can be quite tricky to sew things down to round 1 because obviously that's quite a tight round, so just take your time with it. But yeah, I think I'm happy with this first one, so I'm just going to weave my yarn tail through the hair strand and then I'll just snip that. So I'm just going to get my other hair strands and I'll just do those right next to it like this. I'll show you when I've finished that. I finished sewing down the hair pieces, so this is what it looks like. So now we just need to do the final part, which is making the tail. So for this you're going to need your both your light and your darker pink colours for this. For the tail we're starting off with light pink. For round 1 you're going to do 6 single crochets in a magic circle. Then for round 2 you're going to increase all the way around, and that's going to get you up to 12 single crochets at the end of the round. Okay, so that's the end of round 2. You should have 12 single crochets all the way around. So for round 3 you're going to do 3 single crochet increase and repeat that twice more to get you to 15 single crochets at the end of the round. Then rounds 4 to 5 single crochet all the way around. I'll meet you at the end of round 5 as we're then going to change to our darker pink colour. So I'm just about to do the final single crochet of round 5 and I'm going to change colour to my darker pink. So I've got my darker pink here. So then we're ready to do round 6 in this colour. So once you've changed colour, then for round 6, 7, 8 and 9, so 4 rounds in total, you're just going to single crochet all the way around in your dark pink colour, just like this. So I'll meet you when you finish round 9. Okay, so I'm just about to do my final single crochet of round 9 and we're going to change back to our lighter pink colour now. So I've just got my lighter pink. And now I'm ready to start round 10. So for round 10 you're just going to single crochet all the way around again. So just like this. Then for round 11 you're going to do 3 single crochet decrease and repeat that twice more to get you back down to 12 single crochets, and then rounds 12 to 13 just single crochet all the way around. Again, I'll meet you at the end of round 13, so we're going to change to dark pink and that's going to be the final colour change that we do. I'm just about to do the final single crochet of round 13 and as I mentioned we're going to just be changing back to dark pink now. So all we're going to be doing now to finish this off is rounds 14 to 16, just single crocheting all the way around in each of those 12 single crochets. So I'll meet you when I finished round 16. I reached the end of round 16 and I've added some stuffing. So now I'm just going to cut my yarn, leaving a tail for sewing. And now we just need to literally sew this onto the back of Bewear and then we'll be finished. And just as a little tip, obviously this is the side where you can see where the colour changes happen, so you probably want to position this so that this is the side that's kind of facing upwards, and then you can kind of hide where the colour changes happen. So just a little tip there when you're sewing the tail down. I've positioned the tail at the back of Bewear, a few rounds up from the legs, and I'm just going to be doing probably a whip stitch all the way around to sew this tail down. You could use pins if you want to keep it in place, but I'm not going to do that. So I'm just going to be doing that whip stitch all the way around, and I'll meet you when I've done that. I've finished sewing around once, and as you can see the tail is actually quite secure just sewing around once, so I'm just going to leave it like this. I'm not going to do any more sewing. I'm just going to weave the yarn tail through, and then I'm going to cut that, and then I'll show you a final view of the finished Bewear. I've taken you outside to show you a better view of the finished Bewear because it's a really nice sunny day today, so this is what it looks like, and from the back with the tail. So yeah, I'm really pleased with how this turned out. I hope you guys have enjoyed this tutorial, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.